Hey, this is Jay Young with King Operating. Have you ever considered paying less money in taxes? Would you like to do what the wealthy do and invest in oil and gas? Go on our website, kingoperating.com, and get my book about our model, ADD, Acquire, Develop, and Divest. Or call our number, 214-420-3000, to talk to somebody today about investing in oil and gas and saving money on your taxes.
The Jay Young Show is a weekly podcast featuring insightful discussions with anyone from big business CEOs, celebrities, to military heroes. Each interview is a personal conversation about business, life, and anything in between. And now, your host, Jay Young.
And so you live in Houston now?
I am, yeah. So I moved to Houston in 2013 when I became the president of the Houston Astros. This 2020 season, whether we have one or not, we'll have to see. I'm transitioning out of the presidency role into an executive advisor role. Our owner, Jim Crane, is bringing his son in, and the two of them are really kind of taking over the operations. And it's been a great run. We're committed to staying here until my youngest daughter gets out of school. And then at that point, I don't know if I'll go back to Austin or do something different. I'm just a big believer, Jay, that life's about chapters. And this has been an incredible chapter. And as I'm nearing 48 years old right now, I know the next chapter will be really fun. And I don't know if I want it to be the same chapter that it was for the 40s. So we're going to figure it out. But it's we need to get through this pandemic first and figure out what's the next step for us.
Yeah, so let's talk about the Astros a little bit, because I do want to get into that, last chapter of your life, or not last chapter. You're going to have 15 chapters, but your next. Let's talk about your next chapter. So we'll talk about that in just a minute, but let's talk about the Astros a little bit, because we had you've had a great run there. I know that in 2013 you became, I guess, for the 2013 season, you became the president. So you were the president of the Astros, is that right?
Yes, I came in 2013 as the president of business operations, and I was the president of the team the year we won the World Series in 2017, as well as in 18 and 19. So 17, 18, 19 were pretty incredible. 2 World Series. We went to the American League Championship and lost. And in fact, really, we made the playoffs in 2015. So 4 of the 5 years, from 2015 to 2019, whoever won our series at Minute Maid won the World Series. We got beat by the Royals in 15. They won. We won in 17. Red Sox beat us at home in 18. They won it. And then obviously the Nationals in Game 7 last year. So it was quite a run. My job really was to come in and build the business plan that was going to enable us to put a winning product on the field, and then handle, the league, the broadcasting, all of our employees, the fans, our sponsors, and it was really fun. It was one of these things that when you're doing it, you're really just spinning plates, and you're getting as many plates spinning as you can and just trying to make sure none of them fall. And we did a good job. We had a great team put together. I'm a big believer that you hire good people and you get out of their way and let them do their job. A lot of autonomy with my direct reports. And I think it was a great environment for these people to grow in. And we had some unprecedented success. We were in the mid-20s when I got here in 13 in revenue, and we ended up last year 5th in all of baseball. And that's really behind the big boys of, the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Cubs, and the Dodgers. And so to be 5th in baseball in revenue, and to break a couple thresholds that people never thought Houston, Texas would be able to do, brought a lot of joy and satisfaction to me.
I know, man. My gosh, in the early 2000s, you didn't even really hear about the Astros. Unless they put a bad product on the field. There wasn't really a good team on the field until you. I'm not going to say you are the one that did it, but you're the one that did it. You and your people and. Well, they sold. When did Crane take over?
Yeah, so Jim really deserves the credit. Jim bought the club in 2011 and came in with a business plan in 2012 to basically tear the organization down to the studs. And few owners, I think, have the intestinal fortitude to be able to do that. So Jim deserves all the credit for coming up with a plan to be able to do that. And then he did a couple things.
There you are again, being so humble and all that. There's Reid Ryan, just there at his best.
No,
that's him.
But it's true. But then he also brought in our general manager, a guy named Jeff Luno, who came in and made a lot of tough decisions. Nobody likes the guy that's trading away big league talent for draft picks and prospects. And he was able to do that. Made a lot of really tough decisions, unpopular decisions, but those decisions really enabled us to be able to have a clean slate, a lot of draft picks, a lot of prospects. And then I was able to come in and get this business plan and really connect with the community and for them to buy into the vision of what Jim and Jeff were doing. And that really got us going down the right road. And I think the final piece of the puzzle for us was bringing in AJ Hinch, our manager, who really made it happen on the field for us and had, 5 years of just incredible success on the field. Now, obviously, all of that's changed. I'm still here this season. Jim's still here. Jeff is gone. AJ's gone because of the sign stealing scandal that happened within baseball. And a lot of people, 2017, the Astros have kind of become public enemy number one for really what was sort of the crossroads of technology and sort of old school, sign stealing. And I think people hear sign stealing scandal, excuse me, Jay, and they don't realize it's legal to steal signs. It's been going on forever. Coaches are doing it. Guys on second base are doing it. People are doing it all the time, and you can still do it. It's part of the game. I mean, almost no different than a linebacker seeing that the quarterback is tipping something and they're going to have a pass play and him signaling, to guys that it's going to be a pass or a run. Where the industry kind of got turned on its head was when technology got so good that these high-speed cameras, and whether it was people with Apple Watches or having monitors in the dugout or some type of technology, were able to do things in real time. And so in 2017, the commissioner came out basically with a memo that said, it was in August or September, basically, the league, this is rampant, you need to stop it, and whoever doesn't stop it, I'm going to come in with a hammer and make an example of you. And unfortunately, our guys didn't stop, and the example was that Jeff and AJ lost their jobs and that the Astros were stripped of draft picks. They were fined money, and so ended up publicly, like I said, kind of being public enemy number one across the game of baseball. And so that was unfortunate because these players, man, they did so much to go from worst to first that something like this, it's not indicative of what the uphill fight was to get from the very bottom to the very top. And so I hate that it stained those guys, but like our game of baseball, there's all kinds of chapters in this game, and I think this era will be known as kind of the electronic era, really from the Red Sox in 18 and us in 17 and a lot of the other teams that were doing it as well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, how big of an advantage is that? I mean, is that a big advantage?
Well, I mean, I think if it wasn't an advantage, people probably wouldn't try to do it. So let's just be honest. Like if it wasn't an advantage, people wouldn't try to do it. Yeah. I think, you still have to be able to hit guys throwing 100 miles an hour with exploding breaking stuff. And I always said, knowing a sign doesn't guarantee success. So there's no guarantee that, you're going to be able to hit the pitch anyway and square it up. But I think, does it give someone peace of mind in the plate, a little more confidence? It probably does. But it's so funny because when my dad played, he's like, oh, people would steal signs with binoculars. They do all this stuff. And he goes, what we do? We'd have the catcher put down two, and then I'd throw a fastball right here and knock them on their ass, and then they wouldn't steal another sign. So, there's still ways to combat that. And what I find interesting is the game really policed itself in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s. Yeah. And I think once the money got so big that the office tries to police the game, then you get all these people doing these things. And I think had the game still been played the same way and someone was stealing signs, it would have taken care of itself between the white lines and would never have escalated to all the things that have happened today.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great story. I mean, I just know that. I mean, I haven't played baseball in a long time, and back there in 2010, 11, we'd get with your dad, and your dad would pitch to us, and it didn't matter. He wasn't doing the leg thing like he is up there. That's that picture behind you. But
yeah,
I mean, him and Jim Sundberg would throw balls at us, and we couldn't hit them. It doesn't matter if he's throwing them 50, 60 miles an hour. It doesn't matter, but it's just different at that level because, like you said, I mean, one wrong pitch, and man, it's just it's all over. And even fastballs are 90 miles an hour, you know, and 80 miles an hour, and 100 miles. I can't even imagine trying to swing the bat, you know, at that level. So it's difficult.
Well, and you know what else is interesting is I have had a couple conversations with AJ Hinch, and I think it's a good example, this story, for kids and people. You know, AJ Hinch was our manager, and he wasn't the person that started this. It was really a player-led initiative. But once he found out about it, and I didn't know anything about it, you know, I'm not in the locker room or in the dugout during the game. But once AJ found out about it, I think the regret is that he didn't raise his hand and say something about it at the time. And it's tough because, you know, 15 we lost. We beat the Yankees in a wild card game. We lost to the Royals. 16 we had a winning record, but we didn't make the playoffs. In 17, as a manager, as a leader, as anyone in business, you start to gain the respect of your employees and your industry and the people around you, the more success you have. And so AJ came into this job. He was known for being one of the youngest managers in baseball and getting fired after a year and a half in Arizona. And I don't think he felt at the time that he had sort of the standing to tell, you know, a veteran player, hey, cut this out. And so there's a lesson in there for all of us. And unfortunately, it cost him his job. I hope he comes back because I think he's an incredible manager. And I think, you know, this next chance, he'll even be that much better down the road. But, you know, good things come out of bad opportunities and situations sometimes.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I know that – how do you think that's going to – I mean, I know that even at the spring training before the pandemic, they were talking about, you know, hey, how many hits on the bucket was the strike? Or, I mean, even at spring training this year, Astros, how long do you think that would take to get away? Or do you think the Astros do you think people continue to think about that for a long time? Or how are you?
You know, I think it's when are we going to come back? I think this pandemic has thrown everyone in the world, you know, kind of into a new normal. But in the game of baseball, things roll around. I can remember in 1986 when the Mets and Astros played. Earlier in the season, the Mets had come into Houston, and 3 or 4 of their players had gone to a bar and then got in a fight with the cops, and they all got arrested. And so, you know, that hung around those guys, but nobody remembers that today. So there are things that this will be remembered, but, you know, with what we have going on and what we're going to have to figure out with the game is bigger than all of us, and we'll continue to move on.
Right. Okay. All right. So you think that how many games do you think we'll play this year? Major League Baseball. I mean, how many games?
I don't know, Jay. I think in a perfect world, it'd be a half a season with an extended playoff. But where we are right now, it's really going to depend on whether the Players Association and the owners can come together on some agreement for what this season would look like. You know, there's a lot of things on the table right now because it's the last year of a collective bargaining agreement. Not to mention that every one of these cities, I just heard before I got on the call with you, you know, Los Angeles counties, you know, just announced a 3-month lockdown, you know, for the whole summer. So you've got municipalities that are in different positions. You've got players that are in different positions. You've got owners that are in different positions. And the commissioner has a really tough job of negotiating with Tony Clark and keeping the 30 clubs with some type of plan in alignment to be able to get through this year. And hopefully it'll happen for all of us baseball fans.
Yeah, that's going to be tough. I know it's going to be tough. And the loss of revenue, I mean, for the team, I mean, I can't believe the revenue was $20 million when you got there. And I know I don't know what it is now, and you probably
can't. No, not $20 million. We were in the 20s in rankings of the 30 clubs.
Oh, okay. I was trying to think, man. What was payroll back then? But
no. We were in the 20s, so we were in the mid 20s, and we went up to 5th. So it's interesting because every team in this industry is different. In baseball, you keep your regional television packages. So the Rangers and Astros share kind of a 5-state region. The Rangers TV deal is more lucrative than the Astros. The Phillies is, double what the Astros is. There's some teams that are, a 5th or a 6th of what some of the bigger markets are. There's other teams that draw at the gate so much better. The Tampa Bays and the Miamis of the world depend on the revenue sharing and league revenues like the national TV deals more than maybe their local TV deal or their local gate. So it's hard to have 30 teams that are all in alignment and that have all the same economics. No different than it's this if we don't play a season, it's going to be, tougher in some ways on the guy that's at minimum salary than a guy that's a veteran because he has money and he can get through these tough times. But he's also this minimum guy is losing $500,000, and these top guys could be losing $30 million if we don't play this season. So it's definitely threading a needle to try to make all this work.
Yeah, well, I bet that's a ton of money around. So who generates more, the Houston Astros or the Rangers in revenue? Is it?
It's varied over the years. The last couple years, the Astros have. There's really kind of 3 groups in Major League Baseball. There's kind of the top 4 teams: New York, LA, Boston, Chicago. They tend to play at a whole different level. And then there's about, call it 10, 11 teams that are all very comparable: city size, market size: Houston, Dallas, Fort Worth, Atlanta, Philly, Chicago White Sox, Seattle, the Angels, teams like that, San Francisco Giants, kind of those type clubs. And then there's about 15 teams that are kind of some of the smaller markets around the country: the Pittsburghs, the Milwaukees, the Colorados, the Kansas Cities, Tampa, Miami, those kind of places. So the Texas teams are kind of solidly in that middle to upper half of the 30 clubs, and a lot of it depends on wins on the field. But the new stadium that the Rangers have, obviously it's hurting that they're not opening it this year, but that could be a real game changer for them, especially if they put a winning product on the field.
Yeah. So back then, I know the Astros and the Rockets went in and did their own broadcast deal back in 2009 or 10, maybe something like what, and that didn't work out because I'd always talked about it. And I even talked to Mark Cuban, and I said, Cuban, dude, why didn't you buy the Stars? You already own the Mavericks. I said, buy the Stars, buy the Rangers, put a trifecta broadcasting deal together. And that's a whole nother segment. Because there's so much broad things and there's so much money involved in broadcasting. But what is your thought about this?
The Cliff Notes version on that is that Ray McClain and Les Alexander, the owners of the Rockets and the Astros at the time, combined their rights to go to the market to drive a higher value for their rights. And what they were able to do was have some teams bid. Have some groups bid, and they got ownership. They got a bigger ownership stake in the network. Unfortunately, if you don't have the distribution, it doesn't matter how good your content is. And Comcast controlled the distribution because they were the partner they chose. And they never came through with the distribution, eventually ran the network into bankruptcy. And originally we're going to try to buy it out of bankruptcy. So it's big boy business. It's billions of dollars. Live programming for sports is still very profitable. But if you don't have the vehicle or the subs, that's who has the power right now. It's kind of like the old days, like the quail hunt. Back in the day, the landowners had all the power. Then it became, the bird guides had all the power.
Right.
And so it kind of depends on where you are. At this point, the guys that control the distribution have the power. But as we transition to direct to consumer, streaming right to people's phones and tablets and their smart TVs, that power is really going to go back to the teams. The issue is that we have a long transition period where, in essence, you have these long contracts. And then two, anything at national is revenue sharing. So that model is going to have to be addressed one day in the future with, between the big boys of the Yankees and Dodgers and Red Sox and the small guys, because we do have some type of revenue sharing with the national money right now.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I know we have to wrap this thing up. You got another
call.
I
got to run.
Yeah. So I want to say, how often do you spend time with your parents and your siblings and their families? Are you spending every week? Do you talk to your dad once a year, or how often?
Yeah.
Answer. So I'm just kind of.
So we're a very close family. I talk to my brother probably every day. I talk to my dad probably every other day. I see them multiple times a month. We are in family business together. Even though I'm in Houston and have been here with the Astros, we own Reid Ryan beef, which you can buy at Kroger in Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex or Houston area. We're in the banking business. We've got a community bank called R Bank, like the letter R for Ryan. We have a Fort Worth branch. We've got 9 branches in the Central Texas area. We are involved in real estate and kind of have a family partnership that we do deals and make investments in. We have the baseball team. And so we're very, very involved in a lot of stuff together. And it's fun to work with your family, especially when you have a real relationship with all of them.
Yeah, and y'all go to the ranch a lot, I know. And
we do. We love being at the ranch. And my kids and my brother's kids all get along great, similar ages. And then my sister's got a younger set of kids. And we love having those kiddos around. And she lives up in Amarillo and a little bit further than the 2.5 hours between Austin and Houston. But we love having Wendy and her crew around as well.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I know. I mean, I was thinking about the story about your dad telling Wendy, early on, don't marry a baseball player or anybody from California, or anything like that. And,
Good advice. Good advice.
I tell you what, I mean, your dad, last time I saw him at an Astros game, there was about 20 of us different owners, and he would just go down one by one and just every person telling the updated story about him, and it was just really, really great to get with him. And I need for him to come on the Jay Young Show. I mean, we need to get him on here sometime.
We can figure it out. Let me see if I can get that done for you. Okay, that'll be a tall task. So let me see. He's technology challenged at times.
I know. We'll figure it out. I'll have somebody take an iPhone over there and go, okay, here you go. Just talk, Nolan. That's all you got to do. And of course, everybody knows his voice and all. But I'll tell you what, I know we need to wrap this up. I want to thank you so much, Reid, for being on the show. It's been an incredible experience, and also I really loved your story about the sign stealing scandal and all that. I mean, it's a great story. I mean, you're right. I mean, the linebacker, quarterback, what's the difference in that? And it's just so advanced now, and a lot of people admitted their mistakes, and hey, we move on, right? I mean, we just got to move on, and the game goes on, and life goes on.
Well, I'm a TCU guy, but now I know what it felt like to be SMU back in the death penalty days. So I have a lot of empathy for those guys.
Man, I tell you what, unbelievable. Well, hey, like I've said before, I admire you a lot about your family and about your wife and your kids, and also your whole family. It's been a great experience getting to know you and got to know you a little bit more about you right now today, and I appreciate that. And man, until the next time, let's touch base next week, and hey, let's go to a baseball game. I'm ready to come down and go to a game with you. So thank you.
All right. Well, we got a game. We'll do it, Jay. I got to run, and I got another call today. So you guys have a great day, and thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you very much, Reid, for coming on. Talk to you soon.
Okay. See you, buddy. Bye-bye.